Mr. Speaker, we live in more volatile times than many of us can remember, with conflicts in many parts of the world that are evolving in a very fast and dangerous way. There's never been a more important time to work with our allies and to be absolutely serious in our response. That response was unserious. Unserious. To suggest at a time like this that the Prime Minister attending the G7 summit and the NATO summit is avoiding PMQs is unserious. What happened at NATO yesterday was historic. It was very important at a time like this that NATO showed unity and strength with a commitment to the future, not just to the past. That took a huge amount of work with our allies over the last few days and weeks. We have been centrally involved in that, crafting the final outcome, and we were recognised as having done so. I'm proud that we helped put that summit into the right place yesterday, and the world emerged safer as a result. And that was the unanimous view of 32 allies leaving NATO yesterday. For the leader of the opposition to belittle it just shows how irrelevant she and the party opposite are becoming. They used to once be serious about these issues. They used to be capable of cross-party consensus. And all of that is slipping away. We've led on Ukraine, 3 trade deals, and she talks about the prospect of US attack. She must have overlooked the fact that on Tuesday, when I returned from the G7, the first thing I did was go straight into a COBRA meeting to plan for all contingencies, including a possible US attack on Iran. And I'll tell her why I did that, although we did offer Privy Council briefings, so she knows this. We have military personnel co-located in nearly all the bases across the Middle East, and therefore I was extremely concerned to ensure that immediately on my return, I took every step to ensure I had the highest levels of assuredness that we had the preparations in place to keep our people and our assets safe should the need arise. So far from being blindsided, we were planning through last week. We were talking to the Americans. We were put on notice about everything that they did. She simply doesn't understand the nature of the relationship at that level. In relation to Diego Garcia, let me disabuse her. We do not have to give Mauritius advance notice under the treaty. That is absolutely clear. And she talks about defence spend. We are the party that has increased defence spend to the highest level since the Cold War, 2.5%. They talked about it. We did it. And Mr. Speaker, she says we don't know where the money is coming from. She was pressed on this in an interview not so long ago, and this was her quote. She said this, Mr. Speaker, we talked about getting to 3% by 2030, and we couldn't make the numbers work, she said. And then she goes on, we need to find a way to make the numbers work. I was intrigued by this interview. I thought she was about to lay it out. Then she goes, quote, this sort of thing requires real thinking. And then she said, let's start looking at what we can do. It's about setting up task forces. Mr. Speaker, that's how unserious they are. She asked about the Ukraine communiqué. As she will know if she'd actually studied this, the way that NATO works is an iterative process. And therefore, the position on Ukraine has not changed for NATO, and it's not changed under this government. On the contrary, we're recognised as leading on Ukraine, the closest ally of Ukraine, working with them the whole time. That is something I'm proud of. I think it's something the House is proud of, because we have been doing this on a cross-party basis across the House. And the sooner we get back to that, rather than the unserious response of the Leader of the Opposition, the better.